inside of you.
Pay attention to the psychological aspects. You would have a competitive advantage over any opponent because you would have the mind of an athlete. She was a college soccer player, and she had trained so hard for this moment. She had been training all summer, and she was in the best shape of her life when she entered camp. She was working out so hard, lifting her weights and running, and the beginning of the camp went fantastic. This was going to be the season that all of her dreams were realized, that she played soccer at the level that she knew she always could, until that one fateful day. She planted, thinking nothing of it, something that she's done a million times, and suddenly the right knee gave out. She felt a little pop in there, and down she went. It was her ACL. She tore her ACL. And in that moment, when she was higher than she's ever been before, physically in the best shape, preparing for something special, it all came to an end. This story could be the story of so many college female soccer players and so many athletes in general, because unfortunately, we've all, not all, but maybe most of us at some point have been at that spot where there was that injury and it took you out. And suddenly you went from here to here. And so today I want to share with you a little bit about the psychology of rehabbing an injury and how you can apply these sports psychology concepts so that you can make that process a bit better, hopefully return to the field a bit sooner if advised, and that the journey might be an incredible learning experience for you. You see, when we get injured as an athlete, something significantly changes. And what that is your workouts, how much you're sweating, how much time you're investing giving your body that release of all the chemicals it needs to feel good. So for example, when you exercise and you sweat and you feel good, it's in part because there are chemicals in the body, neurotransmitters like serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine. These are chemicals that essentially help us feel better. But when our serotonin level is high from exercising and working out, and we're feeling good, and you get injured, suddenly your serotonin level begins to drop. And without those neurotransmitters at the same level, what we sometimes see over a day, a week, a month, is an athlete notice a physiological difference in their mood, in their attitude, in their thinking. They sometimes can enter into a funk or maybe even a depressive episode. And it's often overlooked because a lot of times we think, well, that athlete is being treated medically or the body's being treated and they're doing the rehab and it's all about the body. But what I'm saying to you, it's not just about the body, it's also about the mind. And we've got to pay attention to this because it can be very easy when you're not getting that endorphin release, all those natural painkillers that make you feel good. You know what I'm talking about? It's like when you're out there and you're really sweating, you're on the football field and you're battling, and then when those endorphins kick in, man, you don't even feel the pain like you would if they weren't. And suddenly when you're used to getting that day after day after day and it's gone, it can be a big shift. And it can be a shift in our mood as well. And we've got to pay attention to the anxiety and the depression that comes from the injured athlete. When I think about anxiety and depression with the injured athlete, it's important that you know two key definitions. One is this. The definition of depression that I like is hurt held inward. Hurt held inward. And so it's normal and natural when all your buddies are out there on the football field enjoying the glory and playing and having fun, and you're in training rooms like this, that you're going to hold a lot of hurt inside. This isn't where you want to be. This is what you trained for, and yet this is where you are. And so that hurt held inward long enough can lead to some depression. And so I encourage you guys to release that hurt by talking, writing, and praying about this as much as you can. Anxiety, the definition that I like of anxiety is fear of the unknown. And when you've been training all season going this direction and suddenly you get injured, what's going to come next? What's that surgery going to be like? How about that physical therapy? What's that going to be like? How's this going to affect my playing time? What the coaches say? What are my parents going to say? How about the relationship I'm in? And so anxiety is fear of the unknown, and an injury can bring a lot of unknowns. A lot of unknowns. And so it's normal and natural for the injured athlete to be struggling with these emotions. Unfortunately, it's also very common that many people in the sports world will say to you things like, don't worry about it, suck it up, don't complain about this, don't whine about this, right? I don't want to hear about it. And sometimes people will be kind-hearted and just try to kind of pat you on the back and say, hey, you'll get through it, you'll be fine. And you're shaking your head, you're saying, yeah, I will. But privately, somewhere down in here, you could be in a whole world of hurt. And so I'm encouraging you to pay attention to the psychological aspects of the injury. I suggest that while you're going through this, half of the battle is just understanding it, be aware of it, and educating the people around you on what you're going through on the psychology of the injury. That'll help a lot. But as best you can, spend the time in the blue skies and sunshine, warm weather. All that helps to release serotonin, helps us to feel good. Whatever you can do that's medically advised coming back from an injury, maybe it's the knee and you can't do much there on the bike, so maybe you can lift a little bit with the arms and you can get a little sweat going that way. Or maybe it's a shoulder, but you can be on the bike and you can get a good sweat going. Whatever you can do to kind of keep that drop from being so significant from the injury is going to help soften the fall. There's another level to this. It's about your family. It's about how they perceive you. Sometimes an injured athlete could actually, it could change the family system. And this may be especially true for a high school athlete that not all, but a lot of the family focus had been on that athlete. And so when things change there, the dynamic changes. And that may be uncomfortable as well. This is really where sports psychologists step in to help out these injured athletes and their families. It could also lead to a bit of an identity crisis. What if that injury ended your career? What if that ACL injury was it? Now what do you do when you no longer are known for being the basketball star or the track star? Now what? Who are you? And many athletes go through this whole transition when they're struggling to come back. And so that inward reflection time is important. Some athletes even have a bit of a spiritual crisis. They can be mad at God saying, man, everything was going as planned and I don't know why this has happened to me, so I feel so mad at God and feel distant from God. And so that can be something that happens too. And then I encourage you to try to not feel distant, but rather to try to embrace and talk to God and pray about this and to have that spiritual walk so that it's not such a spiritual valley that's lonely, but you might go through that valley to come out the other side and be stronger because of it. That your body, when you come back from the injury, would be better than ever. That your mind, because you're trying to implement all these positive emotions, which we know positive emotions help heal the body a lot faster than negative emotions, will get you there. That your spirit would be just alive because you feel like you grew through this valley in this tough time, and that socially you would come out because your relationships would be healthier because of this. Most athletes' careers end because of an injury. And some of you are lucky, rather blessed, to be able to still play because that time hasn't come for you. And I hope it never does. But it does happen to many. And so if you're looking for a resource on maybe a good book to read on this or a movie to watch, one of my favorites is the movie Peaceful Warrior, which is based upon the book The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Dan Millman wrote this book, and it's a fantastic book that shares the journey of an athlete who gets injured, decides to come back. But as you know, most of the comeback, it's not about what just happens here with the body. It's also what happens in the 6 inches between your ears. If you pay attention and apply these things that we talked about, I can assure you your comeback is going to be better from an injury. You could be stronger than ever. Your mind's going to be clear. Your performance is going to be better. And you will have an even stronger mind of the athlete.